All right, this morning we're talking about trying a little too hard to stay young, and we saw quite a few examples of this during the Oscars. Joining us this morning is Dr. Vince Marin of Marin Aesthetics, and I want to be careful about how we do this because I don't want to come across as mean-spirited, because a lot of these folks obviously are insecure about certain things and they're trying really hard. So this is a learning lesson for all of us of what we can take away.
As we move forward, how to avoid mistakes that other people perhaps have made.
Very good. Okay, so let's start first with Kim Novak. We have a picture to show from her from the Oscars, and this was one that got a lot of reaction from a lot of folks when she walked out on stage with Matthew McConaughey. She's 81, by the way. Let's talk about some things that we can learn from
So
this.
one of the things with her is that she does look done. She looks odd, and I think one of the issues is it isn't that she's had plastic surgery, is that she's had too much, and some of the old techniques that we had created some problems that then surgeons probably had to fix later, and so they used to pull kind of towards the side. That's what gave her that really distinct line on the side of her mouth, and then people have gone in to try to correct that and probably overfill, and her issue is that she probably had too much. And when you look at pictures of her when she was younger, beautiful woman, just amazing features, and it's one of those things I think patients just trying to do too much or get back to maybe when they were too young, not necessarily aging gracefully. So I feel like her issue is, unfortunately, it's maybe the instructions of her doctor should have held her back a little bit, but sometimes the celebrities, you know, what they want they can get if they go to the right person. So I think with her, she's a beautiful woman, but unfortunately I think, and if you look, here we have that picture of her kind of side by side. It's amazing what's changed. So what we're trying to do as we move forward, prevent people from going too far.
Gotcha. Next, let's talk about another spectacular beauty, Goldie Hawn. She's now 68. And what can we learn from her procedures?
So with her, again, she doesn't look 68 at all. You know, she does look great, but the issues are you start to see she's starting to look too full, too kind of plump, where she's done too much. And again, if you look at pictures with her younger, her brows are even higher, her cheeks are fuller now, and sometimes that isn't necessarily youthful. We're actually looking at this and seeing where you've done too much. And if you look at her here, you know, you look at the shape of her brows, she really does have a pretty shape that is lower than where she is now. So it's sometimes trying to do that too much ends up making you look different or odd, and that's what draws everyone's attention.
One of the headlines I read was, "We love you just the way you are, Goldie. You don't need all that."
Right, it's the truth.
Let's go to the men. John Travolta. Let's take a look at his picture from the Oscars. And it's interesting because we also have a picture of him back in the day and him now, and you can really see a big difference.
It's interesting with him. He's drawn a lot of attention through the Oscars here, but I think the issue with him is he's had kind of a changing hairline is the one thing, and it feels like John, when you look at him, he's almost trying too hard. He's 60 years old, and I feel like he's trying to be, you know, 35 in the way he looks, the way he dresses and everything. And when you look at him, and maybe from where he started with that full head of hair and then maybe losing it, as many men do, trying too hard to look too young, and it feels like it starts to look inappropriate for where he is. And we have another example we'll get to, but where I think you can age more gracefully, where it looks more distinguished in a man. So I think John feels, to me it feels like he's just trying to be too young. And again, I think if you hold back in these, you can actually look better, even though if you do look a little bit older.
Gotcha. We also have some examples of some folks who did some things right at the Oscars. We're going to start first on the good section with Kevin Spacey. You said this is a good example of allowing the normal aging process.
Yeah, I think with Kevin Spacey is that he's also had some issues with, you know, hairline, which you see again in a lot of men, but he's done it in a way that looks a little bit more appropriate. He's younger than Travolta. He's only 54, but he looks older to me.
Has he had some things done, you think?
I think he's probably had a hair transplant, and if you look at some of the older pictures that something's done, I don't know for sure, but in doing that, he now has a better hairline, but in the end, he still shows a lot of forehead, but it looks appropriate. I think he just looks good. I don't think it looks like he's trying too hard, and you know, it's one of those things to be somewhat age appropriate in what you're trying to do, and I think it's important that surgeons, your doctor instructs you to kind of go along that proper path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next we have the fantastic Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
She's 46. This
Yep.
is an example of somebody doing something right.
Yeah, and I think when you look at her, she looks like her from her Pretty Woman days. You
Yeah.
know, she hasn't really changed. And to me, the thing is, no one, only people in Hollywood look like they haven't ever aged.
Yeah, right?
But to me, it's the reason they're not aging is the fact that they're probably doing just enough and doing it right to maintain that look over a longer period. And that's really what we want, is to keep people beautiful and young and just stay at that age as best you can. So smaller interventions, less aggressive, just more kind of subtle things. And I think Julia is a good example of that.
Also another good example, Sandra Bullock.
Yep.
She's 49. Take
Yeah.
a look at her.
Yeah, and again, she, you could say she's 32 for
Yeah,
all,
she's
she
right.
really does look great, and she hasn't changed at all. And that's why I picked some of these, is that we're looking at women that really haven't changed. She's just another great example of looking beautiful without looking done.
Let's quickly go through a couple of these. Ellen DeGeneres,
Yeah.
we'll throw up her picture.
Ellen, you look at her, she looks so youthful, it's
Right.
crazy, and she's, I guess, 50...
56.
56,
Mm-hmm.
so it's amazing. She doesn't look, she looks like it could be a teenager in the way, in that, I don't know if it's her spirit or
It might
whatever
be
it
her
is.
personality,
But
too.
it is,
Yeah,
it brings
she's got
all
it
that
hard.
together, but she really has that kind of look about her, and she hasn't changed either. And you know that these celebrities have a team of people working, but the key is, if you do it in smaller interventions, it just looks better.
Meryl Streep, also,
Yep.
she's 64.
And another one, you start to see her aging, and you see some of that, but it looks appropriate. She's expressive. I think she's a beautiful woman, and it just isn't something that she looks like she's trying too hard. She doesn't have some of those things that we see in Kim Novak.
Finally, June Squibb from
Yeah.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
She's 84 years old. She looks beautiful, doesn't she?
It's funny. I picked this one because honestly, this is what 84 probably really looks like
Yeah.
to most people. And I don't think, again, she's kind of been in and out of Hollywood a little bit. But, this is what the normal aging process is, just to kind of give a reference. And honestly, everything you hear about her in the news has been great. She's
Yeah.
that cute little grandma that you have. And so there's a degree to which you don't necessarily need to have plastic surgery to still be beautiful.
Right.
It's more your spirit than anything.
She's definitely embraced the aging process
Yeah.
very, very well. If you'd like to get in touch with Dr. Vince Marin, you can do so at Marin Aesthetics in Del Mar. That phone number is up on your screen right now. We've also put a link on our website, fox5sandiego.com. Mr. B. Wills, always looking young, always looking good.
Well, you know what scares me is I'm in my 40s now, and I see these people starting to do work in their 40s. I'm like, oh wow, is that something I should be looking forward to, Doc? I mean, I'm right there. I want to look like Ellen when I'm 56, with hair and everything. Yeah. Thanks a lot, you guys.